Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Cody here from Gene Media. We're taking a look at how to clean up a session, consolidating WAV files. Let's dive in. Here we have our session, and as you can see, there's a lot going on because each of these regions has to be loaded, processed, etc. It's starting to slow down. So what do? Well, what we're going to do is export our tracks individually as stems. So there's a couple ways to do this. First way to do it, we could export down here in the menu. So as a side note, also, we're working in Ardour. It's for Linux, open source. It's pretty functional. Not the most user-friendly at first. It takes some learning, but basically laid out like Pro Tools, which is pretty cool. And less of the editing functionality. You got to do it the old-fashioned way, right? So that's where all these manual splits come in. Alright, so today we're going to talk about different ways to bounce out our individual tracks. It's called consolidating the tracks. Consolidate them, we move them from all of these individual slices and edits because we wanted to make it perfect. It's a pop song. We'll get them into their own tracks, into a fresh mix session, because this mix, there's a lot going on, and I think I might have messed it up. Two ways, at least, to consolidate tracks. The first way, we go down into the menu and we export and stem export. So we click on it. In here we have our menus and format. We can go in here, we can edit. What you need to know is that there are different formats to choose from, and you want to be consistent as you choose. So if you export from one session at one sample rate and you import them at another, you're going to have problems. So make note of what you had in your original session before you consolidate your files. Yeah, this is the way to do it, to export them into its own folder here, and we come out with something looking like this. A nice organized folder that you could zip and send, import them into a fresh session to start your mix from scratch, etc. This is all our settings here of formatting. You see this normalize button. We usually don't want to use that because when you normalize this, it will take the loudest part of your track. Well, it will make that as like a peak. So it'll put it up at the top, so it gives you less headroom to play around with in your mix. So I typically don't normalize when I'm bouncing. Anyways, we're in here, format profile, compatibility, quality, file format. Some people use WAV, some people use AIF. Free lossless, that's pretty cool, but I don't mix in any of this stuff. I always go WAV. Windows format, you know it's compatible with every software, every operating system. Me being a weirdo working on Linux, that's how she goes. Coming down below format, we've got location. Here's our thing. You can type in our path. We can browse our path, choose folder, etc. You know, so we can find our stuff once we bounce it. And then here we have unique modifiers. So we can put in selection for date. I always do that because that way you know, okay, that's the stuff I did on Tuesday the 8th, etc. And then I'll put in a label like, final consult or something like that. Once you have your thing, the last thing we do is up in these top folders, we select our channels. So in here we have all a list of all tracks, and this includes hidden tracks. So I have this one here, which is not in my main window. So it's a hidden track. I'm not using it, so I don't need to export it. Got to pay attention to that. Before we go into that though, we'll want to name all our tracks, right? We want to name them something that is simple and easy to remember so that we don't get lost, like, which ones are my guitars and my strings, and you got to solo each one out. You lose a bunch of time that way. So anyways, we're back to the export. We're picking our tracks. We want all these guitars. We want all these. We want all our vocals. We want all our drums. Select them all. Select all the ones we're going to use. So now once those are all selected, we click export. We choose our folder. Export stems, create a new folder. So now we have this. Copy it in here, and then when we hit browse, just confirm it'll be in the right place. And name, we don't need that. Check engine and the date for each of these channels, so it'll add the track name in there too. Hit export, it will process. So then let's take a look at a few other ways. All right, second way, what we're going to do is go into our playlist function. So a playlist is basically, you can have multiple of these. It's like making a copy of the track within the track. New copy, there we go. So we make a new copy. Copy the playlist, select the tracks, select them all, right click, consolidate range. Now this will take a second to process. See, it's all one region instead of different regions, like down here. But let's say we wanted to go back and edit it again. We could go back to this one. We've got them back. So in case we find out that it was actually wrong, then we can go back and redo it. All right, great. Thanks for watching. If you have any suggestions, comments, things that could be improved, tips on the things we talked about, let me know. Always happy to try and do more tutorials. I'm trying to keep things focused on mainly the audio side, like the WAV files. But like, comment if you got one. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much.